All right. Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of episode 6 of Your Best Day Yet, where we're here at Center for Victory to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I'm Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer here with Zack DelTurco, one of our executives. His specialty typically is with emerging leaders, millennials, and doing coaching with that as well. But we're gonna pick up where we left off last time. Actually, I left off last time with another one of our consultants, which was Colleen, on really supercharging your life. We've got about a handful more principles to share with everybody. Last week it was with Colleen, which was being a giver. This week I have you here, Zack, about principle number 6, which is very simple: be happy. Mm-hmm. So if I want to supercharge my life, what I'm trying to say is all you got to do is be happy, right? Will that actually get it? I mean, this kind of sounds a little weird. Now that I'm going through this is like, oh, we're just taping this. These are usually a part of 13 other principles that we share. But when we quarter it off and just say, hey, be happy, what does that mean to you, and actually how does that translate into success? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I think about when I think about happy is that song Happy by Pharrell.
Okay.
It just makes me happy. So if you're not happy, listen to that song by Pharrell. It will make you happy. But
who's Pharrell?
Pharrell is he's a singer. He's an R&B singer. There you go.
But he didn't quote it first.
He didn't quote it first.
No, do you know who quoted it first?
I don't.
A 20th century poet said, "Don't worry,
be happy.
Okay,
don't worry."
That's where Pharrell got that from.
But here's what I find interesting. You said something literally a minute ago.
All right.
You said it's so simple.
Right.
And I believe that for a lot of people it is not simple to be happy.
To be happy, it's easy to say it.
Yes. I think it's countercultural in our society today to actually be happy.
No, that's interesting. I agree with you, but elaborate on that a little bit.
So what I find today is people are speaking out their destiny. People are saying, you know what, you make me so anxious, you make me so mad, you make me so upset. Oh man, I hate my job. We're always having this negative self-talk, and we wonder why our lives look like they do.
Right.
I hear all the time. Mm-hmm. Everywhere I go, Starbucks, Jenna Roasta, coffee shop, out to eat, I always hear people complaining about life.
Mm-hmm. What's keeping us from being happy? What do you think is actually keeping our culture from being happy?
I think a big part of that is social media, especially within the millennials and within this next generation coming up. Is they've been exposed very early in their life into career to look at other people and say, you know what, I wish I had their lifestyle. I wish I had what they had. And for me, it's like I look at people who are 20, 30 years ahead of me, and I'm like, man, I want what they have, but I want it now.
Right.
I want the nice car, I want the nice house, but it took them 20 years to get to where they're at. So I find myself in this comparison trap where it's just like, not everything's good, but not everything's bad. And that's where that unsettledness happens in us, where it's like, man, I want to be happy, but I don't even know how to be happy anymore. And I feel like it's ingrained to our culture now, where it's not something that happens all the time.
Right. So you're saying, if I'm hearing you right, so you're saying, I want instant gratification, so I can't be happy until I have arrived. Right.
I think that's well said. Right. Yes.
And the falsehood is there that you see people with stuff and just assume they're happy.
Yeah.
And we know from working with companies and individuals and families, I mean, people can have a lot of stuff, but we know a lot of miserable people that have stuff that aren't really happy. And we know a lot of people that don't necessarily have a lot of material things, but are extremely happy.
We talked about this, I think, last week, it was last week. You're talking about within your career, you hit this point where you're making the most money you've ever made, but you were the most unhappiest you've ever been. Explain that a little bit, because me, I'm thinking, man, if I could just make X amount of dollars, then I would be happy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's a story that I share with folks. I recall sharing that last week with you, and what the context of that was is, years and years and years ago, inside of our company, I just had the greatest year we ever had. I mean, revenue-wise, what we did, what we produced. Back then, we weren't producing MP3s and videos like this. We were actually doing what you might not know is a DVD. It's a little, right?
No, I don't know
or CDs. We were producing a lot of those, and it was just a very good year. But at the end of the year, I just was like, ugh. It's like, what is going on? I just wasn't that. I didn't feel fulfilled, and I really took another internal look at myself and say, what's going on? And what that was for me, the revelation there for me was I wasn't happy because I wasn't living out the roles that I wanted to be living out. And I just unfortunately I got caught in a trap, as we all do. And I think that is what's built the company too. We put a lot of those principles, we've seen a lot of that stuff, we've been through it ourselves. But when I started living according to those roles, ROLES, right? What I want to be, not what everybody else tells me to be, not what social media tells me to be, not what TV tells me to be, or what kind of person I need to be, but what I wanted to be, and what was really important to me, and what was really important to me still isn't what I do as a career. So we've had a little technical difficulty here, so I apologize, but isn't it ironic that we had it, and that technical difficulty almost made me get upset.
Unhappy?
And stop being happy.
Get unhappy?
I was about to get unhappy. So the camera just quit, disappeared, and funny enough, I found myself getting a little agitated, and I thought, oh man, that probably wouldn't be good for what we're talking about today. So I didn't. We just roll with it. So we're back on now. We were talking about being happy, Zach, and one of the things we were talking about that I would like to get to here is really looking at when you're trying to supercharge your career, your life. Does happiness really lead to success? Now, I've seen really grumpy people be successful, but I've also seen those same kind of people not have people in their life. So when we say success, when I look at that, I'm really thinking about success in all areas of my life, not just economically, in my job or career, but really in my family, with my friends, in my community. So speak to that a little bit. I know when we're together, whether it's you or me or the other consultants, when we're together, we have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And most of the time, we're happy and share a lot of stories. But can happiness really, for the people that are listening to this, can it really lead to success?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, and this is kind of our sweet spot when it comes to human behavior and analytics. So how are you wired? What makes you tick? And how are you, in a sense, how do you kind of live your life? And we just did an amazing training last week where we talked about that. And I think it was very eye-opening for me because I had a lot of feelings or a lot of experience, but I never had science to kind of back up, how I'm wired, what's my why do I tick? And it really helped me understand, different areas within my life that I can potentially find that happiness. And for me, I think, you want to talk about success equals happiness. I think success for me is surrounding myself with people like Eric who, we just love being around each other. It's easy to build a relationship, but like true success to me is not so much the dollar signs, but doing life with people I love to do life with. And that's success to me. And that is what equals happiness for me. But I don't know what that might be for you. But, when you think about it from a psychological standpoint, and you probably have seen the rewiring of happiness versus unhappiness versus these endorphins that are released that create these channels. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think putting some science and psychology around, creating new channels to create, different emotions.
Yeah, not maybe not getting too deep for everybody that's listening, but just that we spoke about it before, kind of the map that we have, as we grow up, what we're told to do and not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us have really good teachers who bring that out in us while we're in grade school, middle school, and high school. Others aren't so fortunate. I mean, maybe you have parents that are grumpy. Maybe you have, maybe you've had some bad teachers that say, don't be that joyful. And some people just don't like people being happy all the time. I mean, like, when we're tired and stuff, and somebody's like, hey, how's it going? Like, and it's like, whoa, like, take it down a notch or two. But when we talk about the analytics, I mean, one of the things that I would say that, that I was going over with you all last week when we were doing that training was really what do we value and what's underneath the core, not just our personality, but what do we value, right? What are we, and let's use a different word so these people can grasp, that are listening to this, that can grasp a hold of this. Think of the word passion. Like that, what makes you happy? What makes you tick? What makes you not? I mean, a lot of us aren't like that, right? When I've been given experiences where I can help people, because that happens to be what I'm passionate about. I just like to do it in my own way. Go figure that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But I want to impact people that way. And I've always had that knack to do it in my own little way. But when I don't have that impact, when I can't have that impact on people first, because it's not about the money for me, and it's okay if it is for people, that's fine, right? That can be your passion too. But for me, it's really that service piece, that orientation of service that really gets me up, gets me going. That makes me happy. And when I'm there and when I'm doing those things, I exude that happiness. And all the stuff that you were talking about in the brain and getting my endorphins going and all that really does come alive. But I feel successful when I'm doing those things, as opposed to some people just really passionate about learning. Right? I like it. I like learning. There's nothing wrong with learning. I'm just not passionate about it. Right? I'm really passionate. I want to go out and I want to serve. And when I'm doing that, I really get that boost of energy. I get happy. Like I force myself into those situations. I will say though, the flip side of that is, because I like to serve, you can get burnt a lot. So there's that piece of it of, hey, look, I could stay happy here. I can do these things. I can go out and serve. But then when people hurt me, what do? Do I crawl back into my shell and just become grumpy and miserable? You could. I mean, I've seen people do that. I've, always going back and forth of, I could crawl back and do that. But to your point, the choice is I don't.
Yeah.
I really stay with it, go out, serve, find that place where I can do those things. And it's just the little things. It's visiting somebody, kind of going out of my way. It just doesn't make them feel good. It makes me feel good. But that's how I also deem success. Yeah. And it does make me successful because the people that I'm out with tend to be happy people too. And it becomes contagious, just like you said, with our relationship. It becomes easy.
We have the privilege of having access to our whys or what we're passionate about. I mean, I did not know about these tools until I came on staff here at Center for Victory. So for people who are listening or maybe watching, what are those assessments to help you find your why or your passion? Because it was so eye-opening for me last week when we were going through that training. Oh my gosh, now I kind of understand. It's pointing me in the right direction. So for people who are listening, how can they have access to those type of assessments to help them dig a little bit deeper?
I would say the first thing that they can do is they could visit us. They could visit our website and just click on the link to get the Genius profile. That's what it is. We believe everybody has their genius. Yeah. When you live in that genius, we find that you're happy and we find that you're successful. That would be the first thing I would do, and have one of our consultants really go over that with them and just dig through that with them. It's free of charge. You can go right to our website, click on the link, find your genius, bam, it's there. It'll give you that report. Spend about 45 minutes, an hour with one of us, and see what that is, and see if you what you align with, and really get in your place where you can be happy.
And here's a funny thing, and it's actually not funny, but a lot of people aren't happy because they're living their parents' life. Okay. And what I mean by that is I interact with a lot of millennials, and it's not so much what they want to do, it's what their parents think they should do. So they might be passionate about something totally different than their parents. Maybe their dad is more of that economic like driver. That's what he's passionate about. But how about if they're more the aesthetics, or more the altruist, where it's about helping people and having harmony and peace within their work environment?
Right.
And I really find that's where a lot of people kind of take that road, where, you know, I got to do what my mom and dad are saying because they're paying for college. Right. And 80% of America is unhappy in their work environment. Right. It's shocking that people like us, we don't make the decision, you know what, I'm unhappy. I'm spending 15 years of my life. Your work life expectancy is 15 years you'll spend working. Man, that's 15 years of your life that you're not happy. So how do we change that? How do we say, you know what, I need to change the trajectory of my life. I want to go from unhappy to happy.
Well, I think most parents, you know, being a parent, I think most parents just don't realize what they should be doing with their kids. And again, this is another way for them to check it out. Especially, we work with a lot of kids that are in their teens, especially late teens, going into college that are figuring out. It's still okay to figure it out. Then heck, man, we're still figuring it out. Yeah, but that's what you want to do. I think you want to get into that and see what makes you come alive, right? And that's what you want to follow. I mean, obviously, you do. Yes, you have to make a living, but it's really hard to make a living in something that makes you miserable. I mean, I love the idea of math and accounting, but man, it don't ring my bell. You know what I mean? I love it, and I love people that do it, and I've seen people that are extremely happy with that role. It's just not mine. I would rather be out there, get my hands dirty with people. But so if we could wrap this up, are there a couple things that you've gotten from our time together that you could give, you know, some advice to people that are listening to this as a recap?
Yeah.
I think, what would they be?
Yeah, I think application, if you're looking to apply this today or even tomorrow, why not have a new start and a new day? Tomorrow, wake up and choose to be happy. Sit down for 5 minutes before you get ready to go to work or maybe to go to school, and sit down for 5 minutes and think of things that are happy. Write down things that make you happy and reflect on those throughout the day, because
do some of them.
And do some of them. Incorporate those things throughout your day. Maybe it's reaching out to your daughter or your son, or maybe it's calling your wife or your husband, or maybe it's catching up with a friend that you haven't caught up with in months, but you remember those times in college where you guys had nothing but fun. Man, start to incorporate those little things throughout your day, and watch your life change. Watch the state of your emotions go from being unhappy to happy. It really is simple, but you have to make the decision today.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. And the other thing people can do is they can check us out. If they need more information, they can visit us at centerforvictory.com. They can call the office at 724-462-8383. The other thing that you could do if you want to get started real quick, visit our website, click on hey, Find My Genius link, and then go from there, and one of us will reach out for you and see what makes you tick, what keeps you going, and what really gets you happy. But until then, this is Eric and Zach signing off for now. We'll be back next week with our next podcast in our series of Supercharging Your Future. But just two other things actually before we leave. Remember that no one can steal your joy unless you give them permission. And so, and then to end, as we end every session here, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, just make sure you make this day your best day yet. Take care, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Oh. What, Tammy?
Bada boom, bada bing.
Man, my ears are still ringing.